Kuwaitis had deservedly earned a reputation over a time span of almost 2 centuries of being shrewd tradesmen and skilled seafarers. The outcome? The creation of a commercial center on the Gulf that continued well into the 20th century. But this was all destined to change by the advent of a certain commodity: oil, the newfound source of revenue. On a warm day of June 1946, Sheikh Ahmed al-Jaber al-Sabah, the then Emir of Kuwait, had initiated Kuwait's first crude oil shipment to the outside world. On that day, the Wheel of Fortune had ushered the state's present and future into the new glowing dimension of accumulated wealth. The inevitable question of who holds the wealth of the nation had to be addressed by the Emir, Sheikh Abdullah Salim al-Sabah, a ruler and a visionary. In his quest for an adequate answer, Sheikh Abdullah Salim al-Sabah had transformed Kuwait's leap from a stabilization fund to a savings fund formula. It was the far-sightedness of the Kuwaiti leader which saw, at that quite early stage, the true properties of his state's resource revenue, those of high volatility prices, unpredictability of extraction, and exhaustibility of resources. That vision prompted him to introduce a new word: investment. The Kuwaiti Investment Board, KIB, was created in London in as early as 1953, with a vision characterized as maximizing long-term return with foreign exchange reserves serving short-term currency stabilization and liquidity management. The late Emir Sheikh Abdullah Salim al-Sabah had forged in the past the future of Kuwait. A little more than half a century before the term Sovereign Wealth Fund was even coined in 2005. The KIB was the first ever commodity investment fund to be created worldwide before Kuwait even gained independence from the United Kingdom 8 years later. A new concept had taken root: a shift from traditional reserve management to sovereign wealth management. By 1965, Sheikh Jaber Ahmed al-Sabah had completed his plan to lay down the basic investment principles for the fund, many of which are still in place. In that year, the Kuwait Investment Board had been reorganized into the Kuwait Investment Office, KIO, in London. (1976) witnessed the then Crown Prince and Prime Minister Sheikh Jaber Ahmed al-Jaber al-Sabah creating the Future Generations Fund, FGF, another far-sighted approach towards managing and developing the wealth of the nation. The General Reserve Fund, GRF, is responsible for managing the state's cash reserves. One major assignment is to finance the state's annual budget. The fund also provides cash flows, whenever needed, to meet any urgent state commitments. That novel approach had called for the establishment of a well-structured and autonomous government body to manage and develop Kuwait's wealth inside and outside of Kuwait. Planning was laid out in the few years that followed, and in 1982, the Kuwait Investment Authority, KIA, came into being. In the final analysis, the essential strength of the KIA could be described in a 6-decade-old dictum. All revenue should be used for the people of Kuwait in order to provide a fund for the future. And so a vision, which was coined in the past, to invest in the future.